everybody. Welcome back to the one and only AM show. All right, you guys, we are on a roll today because, of course, as we teased at the top of the show, we have two guests today, and you guys, our second icon just walked in the building. I am super excited for this guest. Not only is he a family man, an excellent father, an excellent husband, but he is also my brother. My brother, James Ockimey, is here with us live and in person, and he is the boss and CEO of his own nonprofit organization entitled Genesis. So before we get into a little bit of his bio, would you gather your enthusiasm and show your love, AM family, to our guest, Mr. James Ockimey? Woo! Yes, absolutely. So James, you know that I am beyond elated to have you here. This is my brother, you guys. This is family. So just a little bit more in regards to protocol. James Ockimey Jr. is a dedicated family man, married to Marielle Ockimey, with whom he shares the joy of raising their two sons, Cameron and Christian. With a strong educational background, he holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from St. Thomas College and a master's degree in pastoral leadership, specializing in nonprofit management. In conclusion, in 2019, James founded the Genesis program, a registered 501c3 organization based in New York State. This innovative program is designed to empower youth age 5 through 18 by helping them discover and develop their unique talents through a holistic approach that integrates sports and fitness with counseling. The Genesis program fosters personal growth and leadership skills. It emphasizes decision-making principles and emotional intelligence, equipping young boys and girls to positively impact their communities. Once again, everybody, show your love for Mr. James Ockimey and his incredible son, Cameron. Yes! All right, you guys, so James, we know that you are the boss of your own nonprofit, Genesis, and I know my brother. I have the privilege and honor of knowing the backstory, but I want you to share with all of our viewers what inspired you to even start a nonprofit really geared to young boys and young girls.
Well, what started it was I started in criminal justice, and I used to work on Rikers Island, and I thought that that was where I can have a generational impact on young men. I soon found out that wasn't the case. With that being said, I targeted the education system. I went back for my master's degree in pastoral leadership, and my focus point was nonprofit because we wanted to make sure that we could touch multiple schools, multiple organizations, things of that nature. So starting it out, I named it the Genesis program because it's the foundation. And in that foundation, I knew that I could bring my family along with me and, hopefully, build out a legacy for everyone to remember, especially, the kids in my community and beyond.
Oh, I love that.
So you talk about why you named it Genesis. It's the foundation, and the foundational scripture on the website, Genesis 1, chapter 1, verse 26. And God said, "Let us make man in our image according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." Talk about that scripture and how you tied that into Genesis. And what was the genesis of See what I did there?
Just understanding that we're all designed in God's image. So, it's a multifaceted of things. Not everybody has the same talent, but we all have gifts. And if we can identify those, master them, then we'll all be leaders in our area of gifting. Because we're not designed to master over anybody. We're designed to master our gifts and serve it to one another. And understanding that, it puts things in the proper perspective. And the younger the kids identify their areas of gifting, the easier it will be for the next generation to pass on these same principles. So.
Oh, I love that. So James, let's get into the meat of this sandwich. Specifically, what kind of services? Tell folks what kind of services the Genesis program offers to people. I love sports and fitness. You know I'm struggling to get on a treadmill. James, you know that. James be trying to help me. He knows that. But tell me the services that you guys offer.
So we started out with basketball because what we realized is physical fitness, it attracts people, right? And through that process, we incorporate our mentor program. So within our mentor program, I take a different approach. It's not the stereotypical sit with the client and just talk, because kids don't really respond to that I guess, that environment well. So what I did was I incorporated physical fitness as a way to teach them how to push themselves and learn how to communicate. So they communicate their struggles through the physical fitness aspect. So I'll challenge them in different ways. And what that does is that allows me to see where their mentality is. And understanding their mentality, we're trying to, you know, foster emotional intelligence. And having that emotional intelligence be the foundation of their upbringing and their mind, it allows them to, you know, have a clear depiction of where they want to go in the future.
Yeah. I love that, because so many times, Freddie, like, I watch these videos on YouTube. You know, you have me studying everything, Miles Monroe included. But I watch these videos on YouTube, and a lot of times, James, I see folks doing physical fitness, but they correlate, like, their triumphs and their tribulations that they have to overcome from physical fitness to their actual life. It's like, yeah, you got to stay on this treadmill for 30 more minutes if you really want the body that you want. Let's take that concept and apply it to life. You actually have to graduate if you want to utilize that degree in different professional sectors. 100%. So I love how conceptually your approach really transcends. Love that. Love that.
You talked about emotional intelligence. So you used to hoop. You know, you played in high school, you played in college, you got a scholarship to college. You were guard. You know, you had like a lot of rebounds for a guard. Like, you definitely had a lot of rebounds. What I want to ask you is, how do you take those concepts of playing basketball as a high school? Because you're 5'9", so you're undersized, and you're probably playing with bigger guys. Talk about those struggles playing basketball and still trying to be great, still trying to carve out a name for yourself, and how to develop emotional intelligence within you, and how you translate all that into Genesis.
Yeah, so emotional intelligence, it's a concept that applies to every area of life. So with basketball, what I realized was it's so many quick adjustments you have to make, and you can't react. You actually have to respond with clear direction. So what I did was, understanding that concept, it allowed me to use the emotional intelligence I gained on the court, and then just kind of simplify it for children to now adopt those philosophies earlier. Because I learned it maybe 22, and then I feel like I've got a great handle on it as I got older, but I'm in my 30s. But if you have kids that are mastering their emotions at the 5, 6, 7 years old, let's just say range, or have a real strong foundational concept, by the time they hit teenage years, you're going to be looking at kids who can literally feel like they can do anything, because they won't overreact to things. They'll respond to things effectively, which is totally different than a kid who has an emotional outbreak.
And I have to say, you've taught me that. Oh, I absolutely will shout that from the mountaintop, because I was incredibly depressed and emotional when I met James, and I had to relearn a lot of things. I'm not gonna cry. I had to relearn a lot. He knows that I had to relearn a lot of things, like the way I was thinking about a lot of things, about marriage, about relationship, about money, about investing, about credit. It was backwards. And then James, you were a catapult in regards to teaching me emotional intelligence. So with that being said, what is the main element that you spot in young boys and young girls? Like, what in terms of what they struggle with the most? Is it a bad day? Is it your parents? Is it peer pressure? What's the main element that young boys and young girls struggle with the most?
I would say it's communication. And because they don't understand their emotions, they can't actually identify why they're feeling what they're feeling. And what happens is, if you can't identify the feeling and then get to the root of it, then you're going to get into a cycle. And then sometimes this is a dysfunctional cycle, which is what we see, and which is why you see kids in the prison system. You see kids just not having the confidence to identify their feelings and really getting to the root of it and making a change for the better. That's really what it comes down to. If you could identify what the problem is, then you could actually govern it and say, is this worth my energy, or is this is not that serious? And a lot of times you'll see, you know, kids, they'll overreact. That's why we see a lot of kids shooting kids, fighting, things of these nature, because it's an environmental confusion. It's a dysfunctional system or cycle that they're going through. But if they can identify their feelings and then, you know, specify why my feelings, if I'm upset because a kid says something, but it really could be because you don't have a father at home.
Yeah.
That could be a real thing.
Yeah.
And they don't want to identify that. But if you can get to the root of that, you know, it definitely puts them in a different space and allows them to, you know, evolve, and the system won't attack them because they'll be, you know, solid in their mental state.
God, that's so good.
Yeah, I mean,
so good.
You both said a lot of great things, but I want to get Cammy.
Yeah.
I want to get Cammy here. Cam, you're sitting with Pops, and Pops is talking, and Pops has done all these different things. He's hooped. He started this nonprofit. He's talking about emotions, and you're his son.
Yeah.
You're in the house with him, and you got to deal with Pops all the time. So talk about just talk about your dad and some of the things that you've learned about your dad and some things that he's taught you. Just you being a young man growing into an older man.
So good.
So for him, he taught me like to always have like a high focus level with anything I do. And since basketball is able to be like applied in life, I was able to focus in school more. Got high honor roll for most of my terms. And yeah, that's really it. He just doesn't really bother me at home anymore.
Look at how articulate you are. Oh my God. Wait, so Cam, I want to know, in your experience, what is the biggest lesson that Dad has taught you? Like the best piece of advice that he has given you?
The best piece of advice he gave me was to always think logically, never base your decisions on emotions.
Did
He teach him how to be a man.
What?
See that? I really like that. I really like that.
Freddie, I didn't learn that till last week. I didn't learn that till I met James. That's so good.
That is so good, because I think what that definitely punctuates the importance of a father and a mother.
Yeah.
Like the father, that's a lesson that you have to get, especially a young man. You have to get from your dad.
Yeah.
You have to get, because like I tell people all the time, you know, the men structure. They set the structure. They set the boundaries of the family, and the mother fills it all in. Right. She fills all that in. So you don't have a father, you don't have structure, you don't have boundaries. But if you don't have a mother, you don't. It's an empty. You're structured, but it's empty inside. Right. And so I think that's a great lesson. And it really shows like that structure that you're setting in your family, and then you're able to bring that to Genesis. And so with that being said, you're at Genesis, you're working with all these different children. How do you balance working with all those other children? Because I'm assuming you're like almost adopting other kids, because those other kids probably don't have fathers, and they meet you, and obviously you are laying a great foundation. And when you lay a great foundation as a man for a child, they get really attached. They want to drink from your well nonstop. How do you balance that? And because you have your own family, you have 2 sons and your wife that's right up here. How do you balance all that?
So what I do is I became a living example of what I want them to emulate. So I bring them around my family. So it's all inclusive. You know, the kids that I have relationships with and the parents, they allow me to, you know, pour into them. I appreciate it because they don't have to. But for my own mental sake, I guess if you want to call it balance, I always have a thing where I'll never pour into another child more than I'll pour into my own.
I like that.
So because I never want them to feel like they're not as important. So what I do is I allow them to take on leadership roles within our organization. So now, you know, I'm a leader, but they're also leaders too. And my wife is the glue behind it all. She handles all of the stuff that I hate, the paperwork and everything that goes along with that. So I don't separate it. I just put it into one big umbrella, and you know, I just try to, you know, remain the example. You know, I think you have to live what you're speaking. So even if when I'm not speaking, they can look at me and go, okay, that's how I have to act. And, you know, just having that integrity, you know, on a daily basis, you know, it's a lot of pressure with a lot of eyes, but it means a lot.
I love that. Yeah. And so, James, how can other children hear about Genesis? How can they join? What if we have children who want to join? What's the first step?
So the first step, you can go on our website. It's thegenesisprograms.com. And, you know, you can contact us directly, because I will say this, some kids are not athletes, and that's okay. But the physical fitness part of it, all kids can be healthy physically. I mean, I don't know if you guys know, the childhood obesity rate is extreme in America, and it definitely affects, you know, depression and the mental state of kids. So just understanding that, if they contact me directly, we can set up one-on-one, you know, counseling, and, you know, I try my best to. Every kid is different. Yeah. So you kind of have to hear each story and adjust the program according to what the kid needs, because it's not a cookie cutter thing. It's really not. There's some parents or kids that have fathers in their lives that I still help them because the father didn't have a father. So now I'm I'm almost counseling both, right? And I don't have a problem with that either, because any man that's willing to, you know, admit his faults and his shortcomings and he needs help, I think we need to lend him a helping hand. So the website will be first, and then, you know, we kind of talk it through. I don't want, like, for me, it's always about just understanding what the child needs. Yeah. And then going from there. So definitely our website is a great way to contact us. Instagram, the Genesis Program IMC. You can always, you know, leave us a message or whatever they need, and then we'll go from there. You know, but that's kind of how we've been doing it.
I love it. Yeah, I love that. And not only are you a CEO of your own nonprofit, but my brother is an author as well. So I don't know if we have that hard copy book. If we do, we need to get that. Let's get that. Nina, let's get this book. This is important. Yeah. But James, tell us now, what prompted you to write a book?
The book, honestly, I wanted to leave something. I wanted to leave something for my kids. It was essential that I left principles for them to look back and say, okay, this is how my father wanted us to live, and this is, you know, because I don't take time for granted. I'm a big proponent of understanding that time is of the essence. Yeah. So when I created the book, I had both of them in mind, including my grandchildren, and I want them to just understand that there's a certain way to live. There's principles to live by, and they're cornerstones in your life. So do never violate them. It doesn't matter what everybody else does. These are the principles you live by. So I kind of brought it down to active workbook for younger kids from 5 to 10, and then I also have the middle school ones. So I do it within the program. I teach each principle. I allow them to express themselves, and we've done it a few times, and it definitely has worked. And if you do it every year, you'll see the progression in their mentality. Yeah. That's the key. So yeah,
I love this. I love how this book is interactive. The Genesis program. Let's get a close up, you guys. The Genesis Leadership Program. I love how this workbook is interactive, and if you flip it, and it's bilingual. If you flip it, you can see that it's super interactive and that it actually has like leadership components. Like this one says, leadership always empowers others to achieve greatness. And I've been studying a lot about leadership recently, the past couple of months, actually. And I came across this video on social media, and the guy said, when you are in a position of authority or power, when you are in a leadership position, you really aren't in charge. And you taught me that years ago. You, along with my father, so many other great people I have around me, it's not you being in charge of someone. It's not you telling someone what to do. It's actually taking care of the people who are around you. Right. So with that being said, what's your top leadership quality?
Top leadership
that you think
quality,
every leader should possess?
You would have to be a high level of compassion, right? But in the compassion, there has to be an extreme level of accountability. Yeah. So what I mean by that is I can't tell my son to be a certain type of man, and I'm not that man. But I do have to have compassion in the sense of understanding that everyone comes from different environments, but not using that as an excuse to be less than an accountable person. Yeah. So I think just the accountability and the compassion, those two combined, it'll always put you in a situation where you can be relatable to everybody, you know, because it's like, listen, you might come from a tough environment, but that doesn't mean that you have to be what the environment produced. Yeah. And that's where the accountability comes in. So as long as you're doing that as a leader, you'll figure everything else out. For sure.
I love that.
I was just flipping through the book, and I've seen a lot of different leadership criteria, which I really love, and then it was bilingual, and I see you got the Puerto Rican flag on your arm. Yeah. And so that kind of leads me, because we talked to Cam about what Cam is getting from you, right? And Cam broke it down, wonderful. Where you get it from? Like who?
That's so good.
Like in the words of one of my favorite comedians, T.K. Kirkland. Who raised you?
I would say Dr. Miles Monroe just had a major impact on my existence. I had both my parents in my life, but sometimes things go, astray. Yeah. And what I realized was, I hear a lot of people say, oh, I do this because my dad didn't do this or whatever the case. And I never adopted that philosophy. It was more so, I just want to be a good father.
Yeah.
So I need to learn how to be a good father. It has nothing to do with my father. I can't blame him for anything. It has nothing to do with my mom. I can't blame her for anything. I have to learn it. So, you know, I stumbled upon Miles Monroe, and, you know, the man literally just changed my life.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like he kind of broke me down from scratch, and through the teaching and me holding myself accountable to these principles, it kind of molded me into the person I am now. So, because I wasn't always this person, I'll tell you that much. I wasn't, but being accountable and just really having a real love for God is just really it changed my whole philosophy of how I live my life. So,
so you just said you hadn't always been that person, and I can relate to a lot of that, because the younger is like you kind of just doing your thing. You're not intentional.
Yeah.
Intentionality is super important to your question, like important leadership quality, intentionality, being intentional, setting plans.
Yeah.
I know, my story, like, usually when you find great leaders, they have that turning point. They have that thing that happened in their life that, like, made them, like, shook them up. Like, okay, you can't keep going this way. You got to choose what you're going to do. You going to poop or get off the pot. You going to go right or you going to left.
Yeah.
What was that moment for you to where it was like, in life, it hit you in your chest. It's like, okay, I want to boss up now. Like, I'm trying to go to another level.
Yes.
I think it was, I had Cam when I was 19.
Yeah.
So, just me being afraid of being a bad father. And,
I never heard you say that.
Yeah, just being afraid of that was, it was the fear of letting God down, him putting me in a position, trusting me with his son.
Yeah. And
me falling short on that. The burden of it it was just too much. So for me, it was, if I don't get it together, I fear that I'm going to fail him. And as I went through the process of evolving, my relationship with him grew. And, from that birth, a beautiful family. So, I was 19 when I had him, and I was a kid. When I think back on it to this day, I'm like, I was a kid. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And because of that, I was just grateful that, God understood that he put me here with a purpose.
Yeah.
And once I identified that, and I really indulged on being a good father, everything else changed in my life.
Absolutely.
So that was pretty much the turning point for me. And that was almost 13 years ago.
Yeah, and
13
years ago, and I've witnessed that.
Yeah.
I've witnessed that, James. I think I met you when you had already evolved.
Right.
You evolved into this incredible person. With that being said, I know we can't hold you for too much longer. James, what are you most proud of when it comes to Cam?
That he didn't let my decisions ruin him.
Wow.
He didn't let my decision ruin him. And that was one of my biggest fears the whole time. I watch him, I'm very grateful for him. And just watching him and his brother, watching the young man he becomes, it's a lot.
Yeah, I love that. I feel that.
Well, let's get it off with. Oh, go ahead. I want him to answer that question.
Okay. I was going to ask him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, we right here.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Cam, what are you most proud of when it comes to your dad?
There are a lot of qualities, but I guess just how he inspired me so much, giving me so much, just basically inspiring me to be who I am.
That love and support that he gives you. I know, Cam. I know you can feel it because I can see it. We thank you so much. Oh, my goodness. You guys, let's give an AM standing ovation round of applause for Mr. James Ockimey, boss and CEO of the Genesis program, alongside his very incredibly smart and talented son, Mr. Cameron. Cam, you're 13?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. Now I really, really feel old.
Oh,
James, I'm telling you, I feel old. James, let's leave it off with this. Where can people buy the book?
Yeah, we can do it on the website. I don't sell it independently because I do, I take pride in teaching it as well. So I try to partner with school districts or organizations where I could really pour into the kids. Because although you might have a book, if you don't understand what the message is, it's just a book. But if they can, you know, identify, you know, what the purpose of the book is, and we can teach it together, it's always a lot more impactful.
Fantastic. You know? Fantastic. Yes, Freddie. All right, you guys, so we're going to head on over to a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere because we have just a little bit more of the show when we return. Yes, Genesis, everybody. Oh.